Hello and welcome back to another Django tutorial. We're building our CMS and the goal here is to make sure everybody's on the same page and set up and we get everybody's project up and running before we even start writing any code. One of the most important parts of that is installing some software that we're going to need. The first one comes from GitHub. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. It's called Git, and it's basically a version control software. What it does is it tracks changes in your code. So when we're writing files, it knows when we make changes. And then when we say, hey, go ahead and take like a snapshot of that code, please do so. That way, so when we are working through our project, if we screw something up, we can go back. I do this quite often. I screw things up. I think it's a great idea. And then when I present it to a client, they're like, nope. And then all I have to do go back is put a command in. Boom. Back to where I was. And I fix it correctly. All right. So this very important software. We also need this if we want to upload to Heroku. Because it is required for the Heroku command line interface, which we'll talk about in the next tutorial. So before we even go any further, let's go ahead and make sure we don't already have Git installed on your computer. Because out of all the tutorials that are out there, most instructors have you installing Git. So you might have installed it before if you tried to do a Django, Python, anything type tutorial. So to check if you have Git installed on your computer, do git -- version, hit return, and no developer tools were found, so I do not have it installed. Alright, if you're on a Mac and you did git -- version and you get this little message right here, go ahead and hit install. Alright, this will install the developer tools and it will install Git for you. Now, if you're on Linux or Windows and you did not get, well, you wouldn't get this message because they don't have Xcode. If you did not get the message, while I go ahead and finally do this, let's go ahead and go over to git-scm. All right. Basically, this is the Git, the home of the Git, if you will. So this information, if you guys have any questions on how Git works, this is where you want to go. Great documentation. I'm going to walk you through how to use Git in this tutorial series. So you guys will get some knowledge, but there is a lot of information that goes into Git and how to use it. All right. Now, when you're on this home page, over on this computer right here, you're going to have, based on your operating system, whatever it detected. If you're on Mac, you can hit Mac, but most likely you got the message that I just got that, hey, you don't have the developer tools installed, so you can just hit developer tools. Now, if you're on Windows or Linux, you're going to have a little message up here. You're going to download it. All right. Since I'm on a Mac, I can't demonstrate to you what it's going to do, but you're going to go through a installation process. Just follow the prompts and it will walk you through it. All right. Once it's installed and set up, we're going to go back and we're going to test it again. We're going to use git -- version to ensure that it gives back a version of 2.19 or higher. All right. So once we get there. All right. So my Git version finished installing. So if I do git -- version, I get Git 2.15. Now, the latest versions Git 2.19. Git 2.15 will do the same thing because the versioning is really no different. All right. Since I installed it via Apple, that's probably why I'm getting a different version. Notice it says Apple Git 101 here. That's probably why I'm getting a different version. But yours is most likely going to be Git version 2.19. All right. With that being said, as long as you got a Git version here, we are good to move on. And our next step is we're going to start a Git repository. And what a repository is what I was explaining earlier, is it keeps an eye on our code and will take a snapshot when we tell it to of the changes that were made to our code. So that way we can either go backwards, forwards, whatever we need to do to work with our code. So to initialize a Git repository, because Git will not do anything until we initialize the Git repository, we do git init, git init. All right, hit return, initialize an empty Git repository. There we go. Now we have an empty Git repository that will keep an eye on our code. So when we say something, for example, git add and then git commit, then we're taking snapshots of our code and our current position in our code. That way we can adjust as needed if we need to. If you guys have any questions or you're having any issues getting Git set up on your computer, please let me know. Otherwise, move on to the next tutorial where we talk about the Heroku command line interface software. See you then.